What's going on, all you wild Hobbit enthusiasts? It's your two favorite critics back here for Cinephellas. I'm Logan Myers. It's my good mate over there.
I'm Henry Hill, and what are we talking about tonight, Logan? It's a big show on Amazon Prime Video.
Are you talking about the one that premiered on September 2nd?
Is it about my precious?
No, sport. It's not about your precious. It's far before that. And tonight we're going to be talking about the brand new Amazon series that just debuted on September 2nd, and full series in the world, and going back to Middle Earth. We're talking about Lord of the Rings. The
Rings of Power.
So me and this guy are huge fans, obviously, of Lord of the Rings. I remember the original movies coming out when we were in high school, going to see it, opening night. Blew me away. Just loving that. The first three movies, and then the Hobbit movies are okay, but not as good as the first three. And just loving that whole world, the lore behind it, mythology, all these characters of elves and hobbits and dwarfs and everything you would want in a fantasy world created by Tolkien many years ago. But this time around, we're getting episodic adventure going back to thousands of years before all, stuff that happened in the original movies. Thousands of years and seeing younger versions of character we're familiar with and some new faces showing up along the way.
Yeah, we're back into Middle Earth, after all these years, after the Hobbit films, came out, but close to a decade ago, I guess now, or if maybe further, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the Rings of Power, it's this big spectacle of a show, this gigantic production, the most expensive TV show ever created for the streaming service Amazon. They put all their money into it, and they're counting on this to be their big blockbuster show, to rival HBO Max, Netflix, all the big streamers. So they needed a franchise to come along and for them to capitalize on it. And they chose Lord of the Rings. And we are going back to Middle Earth once again. One thing I noticed right away was we are back in New Zealand. The production on this show is just phenomenal. The aerial shots of all the mountains, everybody's costumes, just the look of everything blows you away right away. All the money's up on the screen. Even the computer generated stuff looks, nothing is going to rival this show in terms of production value. It's in full force here. And of course they needed that when, we're going back to Middle Earth, and it's 2022 now. They're going to have some impressive effects, and everything's going to have to look great. And it really does here. You're blown away by how great this is directed and how everything looks, and it brings you right back into Middle Earth.
More diving into the lore behind a lot of these characters and how everything took place in the film, that we remember. As you said, Sauron and Middle Earth, bringing back orcs that always terrified me in the original three films. Just the way that the practical effects, monster-looking creatures snarling and razor sharp teeth, just they bring it back in this show, and it looks even better than it did in the original movies. I thought they did an excellent job. You could see that they spend the budget on the way the show looks, visual effects, practical effects, set design. They spend a lot of money in costume design. They spend all the money in the best ways because it draws you in from the get-go of the show, returning to this, this land, Middle Earth, and these characters and creatures and things you would expect in a fantasy show. And it really brings you back into that. And you fall into it much like a video game. You fall into the story. You're riding along with the characters and going back to some familiar faces. Galadriel, played by Morgan Clark from St. Maud, A24 film that me and this guy both reviewed, had a great time with it. But I knew she looked familiar looking it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But we know her from Kate Blanchett playing that character in the original films.
Yeah, that's right. She's a younger version, obviously, in here. And her character senses a great darkness coming over the Middle Earth. She can sense it that, as we'll find out, that the evil Sauron is coming back. And you can get this big sense in the show that all these characters can sort of feel something happening. The tides are turning here. There's been a relative, peace for a while, but this darkness is brewing in the show. And I liked how from the first episode, it really sets that up. We're introduced to all these characters. We have to get to know a lot of new people. And I thought that the show did a really great job, setting them up. It's kind of a slow burn at first through the first couple episodes, but really they have to establish these characters that not a lot of us, especially me, I haven't read all the Tolkien stuff. I've seen the movies, I've never read the book. So I don't know about the story, and especially what happened thousands of years before. So the show takes its time setting it up and introducing us to these new characters, with Galadriel's character being, at the forefront. She's the star here, and we're seeing her start this quest to try to warn people that this evil is coming, and she's going to have to bring together, all these different people, the elves, the Harfoots. She's going to have to go warn people. And as we find out on the show, not everybody believes her. And of course, we start seeing some really bad stuff happen with the orcs coming, and some signs that, this big evil from Sauron is making its way, and it's going to cause some bad things to happen. So they're going to have this big group to take them on.
Yeah, and you can see throughout the first 4 episodes too that the army gets stronger and bigger as it goes. So as they're trying to gather all these different people and groups of people in different places throughout Middle Earth, this huge, army of bad guys is growing stronger and going after them. So they're trying to put this group together and introduce them as the dwarves. One of my favorite characters of the show is Elrond, played by Robert Aramayo. A really fantastic actor. He plays an elf, and he has this relationship with a dwarf. One episode that they just kind of go on for this relationship, very homoerotic at times, but it's Lord of the Rings. It's like it's expected, which is fine. It's fun. They had this great relationship, and I thought he was really a standout performance. Somebody I've been keeping an eye on throughout the series. And I love his character, how it develops in the first 4 episodes. And he's also a familiar face from the original movies that we're going to find out about later. Another character, Arendor, is played by Ishmael Cruz Cordova. He was really fantastic, one of the main characters in the show, another elf. And he gets in some sticky situations.
Yeah, his character is really badass. He's tough. It's kind of like the role that Orlando Bloom played in the the original films, but he feels like he's stronger, and he shoots the bow and arrow, and some really cool scenes where he gets captured by the orcs and has to fight his way out. And he seems like a great great character, and a huge asset to Galadriel and taking on Sauron. So can't wait to see them form an alliance and see this big spectacle that's probably going to end this season, when they're about to face Sauron. But this series is going to stretch on. I've heard, I think the last I read was at least 5 seasons. So they have this big, spectacle in hand, many hours to, take place in this world and follow these characters moving forward and really give us the story, and I can't wait to see it, the way this was produced and written. Everybody's acting is terrific, and a lot of little known actors, a few that we've seen before, but a lot of unknowns here. And I thought everybody really does a great job. The acting's on par with the original film, and as this series goes on, these characters are going to become bigger and do really awesome things, much like Elijah Wood and the Hobbit and Frodo and Samwise and all them. There's going to be this really cool team put together, and I can't wait to see where this goes. Big things are coming for the show for sure.
Definitely the Suicide Squad of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
It's different characters, the world,
right?
Like a joke from Andrew Dice Clay, but this is set thousands of years before the events of the Hobbit. So they're really going to be building this up for 5 seasons and tying in, I'm sure, eventually to the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. But lots on the line here. The stakes are high. We have Sauron. We have orcs returning. They're just going to start killing. It's really setting up some brutal kill scenes and that's great fight sequences. The stakes are high, like I said before, but I'm really excited to see how this season turns out. It's going to be released weekly on Amazon Prime, much like The Boys. So I have to stick around and watch the show each week when they release a new episode. But I'm excited to see where they take this and how this is all going to tie in eventually to the familiar source material. Yeah,
this could go in many different directions. They could do the episodic, hour and 15-minute long episodes. And then, by the time it ends up, they could release them into, some movies, even maybe these big 2-hour, 3-hour spectacles, much like we've seen from other shows lately, like Stranger Things with the longer, cinematic episodes. I can really see it happening for the show. And I really enjoyed the show so far. Loved everything I saw. The action's great, the character, their dialogue and interaction. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. So I had a great time returning to Middle Earth on Prime Video. And I am going to give The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, a 4 out of 5. My precious hair pieces.
Just from seeing the first teaser trailer, I was definitely excited for the show. Huge fan of the source material, the movies. I've been waiting for this for a few years now since they announced this. And I was pleasantly surprised. I really had a great time. Visually, it's a beautiful show to look at. You can tell why it's the most expensive show ever made, just the way visual effects, practical effects, just the huge scope of the show. First 4 episodes, episodic series, good versus evil, Sauron, orcs, this group of, characters coming together and take out the evil. So a lot is on the line. And I just had a really great time. The first 4 episodes blew me away. And it's a show I would definitely probably rewatch after watching the first season. It's that damn good. So both of us highly recommend this to all you guys out there. If you've not seen it, it's currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video. 5th episode will be up, I think, this week. So that being said, I'm going to give Lord of the Rings of Power, a 4 out of 5 elder pieces.
So we want to hear what you guys thought of the Lord of the Rings of Power. Did you guys enjoy it as much as we did? Or would you rather go back and watch the original trilogy? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to click like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow along with us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, for all the latest movie news and reviews.
And also stay tuned for our YouTube channel right here. We're coming up to the greatest month of the year. That's right. I'm talking about December. No, I'm kidding. October for horror. It's almost fun. Me and this guy and the rest of the Cinephellas crew are going to be reviewing, talking a lot about old movies, new movies, TV shows. We're going to do a podcast, interviews, all that fun stuff per usual. But the best month of the year. So we got a lot of old films we're going to be reviewing, me and this guy, and some new flicks coming out as well. So it's going to be a fun month. So stay tuned for that and stick around because we love those old movies.
Well, we want to thank you guys for watching our review of the Lord of the Rings of Power. Gandalf's trying to pass me the peace pipe here, so we got to get going. Until the next Cinephellas TV review, I'm Uncle Henry.
I'm Uncle Logan signing out until the next TV review.
Cheers.